Good Thursday afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Talkin Torque. Happy to be back and talking about the world of motorsports and the world of business here for another week. Obviously, very busy week in racing. We saw the start of the Formula One season in Bahrain, followed by the kickoff of the IndyCar season at St. Pete, and that was a very eventful race, as well as NASCAR trucking on through Vegas with all three series, Truck, Xfinity, and Cup. But want to go back and start with the F1 weekend. Three big storylines. Number one, obviously, the continuing domination of Red Bull. Their steamroller just keeps moving on. As of now, and most teams are already mentioning as much, that it seems like nobody's going to be able to keep up with Red Bull this year, that this is basically a lost season. Ferrari is a little bit more optimistic, thinking that, obviously the first race is not the season, and they're hoping to see a little bit more parity come Jeddah next weekend. That was storyline number one. I mean, again, Red Bull just on another planet. Number two, the surprising resurgence of Aston Martin. Had some success as Force India, little blips of success as Racing Point, but kind of out of nowhere, with the oldest driver in the field, Fernando Alonso, coming in and managing to get a podium in his debut with the team. Really, probably the third fastest car on track. Arguably, Verstappen was way out there. Charles Leclerc was, had shown to be P2 throughout most of the race until a technical issue retired him early. Then, Perez and Alonso were slugging it out. Alonso was able to pass him on the track. I mean, Alonso made a lot of great passes, drove around Hamilton, drove around a chunk of the field after the start, and really showed that drivers don't forget how to drive. When they have a level of success, whether it's world championships, whether it's winning races, what have you, in Formula One, the split between driver and car, I mean, it's probably 75-80% in the hands of the car, and then the driver makes up the last little bit. Alonso is definitely proof of that. The guy hadn't been on a podium in like 2 years, and he's only seen one other podium in like 8 years or 9 years or something like that. Just 1 second, our guest is trying to log on here, and he's not too sure what to do. And I can't say I'm too sure what to do, because normally they just pop up in here. But it was great to see Alonso there. And then the shocking revelation coming out of the Mercedes camp, that they've all but given up on this car design. Now, their car was quite revolutionary last year. Everyone came with a clean sheet of paper. Mercedes opted to go with a minimal side pod design, and I believe the idea behind that was to try and minimize the amount of drag that they were going to have on the top of the car, to create a slipperier car in a straight line, which would give them more net top speed. The problem was that it produced such little downforce. I mean, forget about the problems that they had with porpoising last year. The car just didn't make enough downforce in the corners. So where they weren't able to generate downforce from their side pods and to kind of share the load of downforce from their front wing to their side pods to the rear wing, they had to do it all with their wings, which made their car extremely draggy and still didn't produce enough downforce in the corners. So they kind of lost out on all elements of of the car design. And team principal Toto Wolff basically said, listen, we know that this is not going to go anywhere. We are going to take a look at this design, and we're going to come up with major revisions in the next 4 or 5 races. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to Mercedes season. It doesn't sound like they're tossing in the towel, but today Lewis came out, and the closest thing that I've ever seen him do to criticize his team basically said, there comes a point where you have to admit that, what I told you was right, and that you guys didn't acknowledge what I was talking about. I'll get the actual wording because I don't want to put words in his mouth. Said, I've driven so many cars in my life. I know what a car needs. I know what a car doesn't need. I think it's really about accountability. It's about owning up and saying, yeah, you know what? We didn't listen to you. It's not where it needs to be, and we've got to get to work. Bit of a bombshell from Mr. Hamilton. It breaking that backwards, it sounds like there were a lot of conversations that went on towards the end of last year into this year, or into the off season, where Lewis was after these guys to say, this is not the design. This is not the direction we need to go. We need to go the opposite way here, and we need to come up with a totally new thing. The team, who'd obviously, they invested considerably. You got to keep in mind that the last year's car was developed before the last or towards the end of the 21 season, where budgets were still able to be essentially wide open. So they invested considerable dollars into the side pod design and into being able to cool the car with that minimal design. I know the team didn't want to walk away from that, but at some point you have to realize that you're just not going to be competitive, and that's what's happened here. So that was really, really interesting. Let me see if I can help Aaron out here, because he's trying to log in and can't seem to get past the wall here. And then I was in Vegas last week, as a guest of, I was in Vegas for family reasons, but was fortunate to be the guest of Kyle Busch Motorsports. And while I don't know that anyone who knows anything about racing will argue that, Kyle is easily one of the greatest drivers of his generation, and definitely one of, if not the greatest, to get into a NASCAR stock car of all time. People might not like his attitude. They maybe don't like his personality. They maybe don't like this, that, or the other thing, but you can't argue about the guy's talent. So watching him race and getting to see what happened on the sidelines on Friday was eye-opening, to say the least. Hey, there's Aaron. I can see Aaron's finally in the green room here, so we'll bring him in a second. But getting to watch Kyle and getting to watch what the team went through on a race day. I wrote a blog about this. You can check it out on our Crier Media site. But it really hammered home what I believe the key to success in racing isn't being the fastest driver. It's not having the fastest car. It's not having the most money. It's not any one thing. It's not the luck. Those are all things you definitely have to have in varying proportions. It's how you overcome a challenge. And I can't accurately redescribe everything that the team went through, but some of the highlights, when I showed up to the track on Friday, I saw my good friend G Money. He's he's basically Kyle's right-hand man when it comes to the truck program at KBM. And, I can't say that I know him extremely well, but, we've met on a number of occasions. We've raced together. We've done, a lot of, little things over the years. I know the guy's personality and I know his demeanor. And when I saw him on Friday, on what should be one of their, kind of flagship events where Kyle gets to race at home in a truck where he's done so well, I could tell something wasn't right. And when I first saw him, I kind of waved and he almost looked through me, and I said, "Man, do you need a drink?" He's like, "The crew's not here." I'm like, What do you mean the crew's not here? Turns out that there's a company that operates charters for the truck teams. They basically send out 3 planes from Mooresville that all the truck teams, or the majority of the truck teams, will use for all their crew, their drivers, their support staff, and everything. And what happened is, after takeoff, one of the 3 planes experienced an issue and had to turn back to Mooresville. It wasn't fixable, so they had to find a separate plane, like a replacement plane, which meant that 1/3 of the Camping World trucks um, didn't show up until after the race started and after the first pit stop. And the second problem is, without your crew there, it's really tough to do pit stops. But the other teams, the Cup team, the Xfinity teams, they don't fly their crew in until race day. So those guys aren't around. So they had to basically just take crew members from the other Cup teams to try and help if there was a pit stop. And unfortunately, there was. It didn't necessarily go the way that a standard pit stop would go, because these guys weren't a typical pit crew. Unfortunately, the wheels weren't properly tightened. Kyle had to come back in, but before Kyle could come back in, he had to dodge a tow truck that NASCAR had sent onto the track to recover another car. Now, the fact that they sent the tow truck down pit road under caution while teams are supposed to have access to pit road is unthinkable. And I think NASCAR will admit that they made a really big mistake. They got that fixed. Kyle ended up driving through the field twice. Got some bad luck on a pit stop later on, had to drive back through the field before ending up, cinching the deal. But absolutely, just countless challenges overcome, and they overcame them successfully. And the best part was getting to listen to a little bit of Kyle's audio. He was calm, he was cool. And I think Kyle gets a bad reputation for being a hothead, or for being, very demanding, which he can be. But in the situation, he was like a great quarterback and just saying, "Don't worry about it, guys. I haven't even hit my stride yet. Give me 5 more laps and I'm going to let this thing go." And once he did, man, he really started to show the field why he's one of the best of all time. But enough about racing here. We've got my good friend, and I don't know how many different ways to introduce Mr. Aaron Bold here, professional lacrosse player for the Vancouver Warriors, the founder and obviously the namesake of Bold Athletics, private training gym here in Edmonton, and just all around good guy, Mr. Aaron Bold. How are you doing, man?
Good. Yourself?
Well, I'm still trying to get over this virus that some guy gave me on the flight down to Vegas here on Friday. So, if you're wondering why you haven't seen me in the gym, I'm not in hiding. I'm just trying to keep my sickness contained.
For sure. Maybe I should get a mask or something like that, because we're heading to Vegas this weekend to play the Desert Dogs. So, yeah.
Well, as long as, I mean, if you have the same guy behind you that I had behind me, you're going to want a mask. I did the routing through San Francisco on Air Canada, so just watch out for the guy in 2A. No good, man.
Fair enough.
But thanks for coming on. Obviously, this is a very new podcast, and we're still finding our stride here. Generally, I like to talk to people from within the business world, as well as people within the racing world. Now, we can talk about racing, but I think it might be a one-sided conversation here. Let's start out with Bold. How did that come to be? Obviously, you train very hard. I mean, I don't know that people really realize the amount of effort. You're a goalie, so you just basically have to stand there. Just like in racing, the car does all the work. I've been fortunate to be beside you during some of your own personal training sessions, as well as watch how you train other people. So how did Bold, like, it might just be a natural revelation, or a natural sidestep to go from the life of an athlete to a trainer, but I don't think those two are necessarily simpatico. So how did that come to be?
Well, I think honestly, it first kind of came to be just from even just my childhood, right? We were very active and everything like that. I had two brothers that were very fit. I got into athletics when I was younger, playing baseball. and everything like that. And I think that's where it kind of really stemmed from, was the athletic side, of course. So I went pro when I was 20. I started basically training when I was 20, and it just
You
kind of,
didn't start training until you became a professional?
well, sorry. I started training actually probably when I was like 16 or 18. Yeah, like
Okay.
hard, right? So basically, a few years before going pro, and became a trainer at the age of 20. So basically, I've been doing this for almost 18 years now, and it started kind of training some of the guys on the team, which didn't go so well sometimes. They wanted to party and so on and so forth, and I had my mindset a little bit more based off of um, the actual the long game and so on and so forth. So based with that, what I did was, I just kept on kind of getting certifications and everything like that, and building. When I moved here from Ontario, I was playing actually for the Rush in 2012. The commute from Toronto, wasn't the best. I was working as a trainer out there as well. So long hours, as from Antonio and everything like that, the grind of this business. And, I was a sole proprietor when I came here in Edmonton. And I just said one day, hey, you know what? I want to own a gym. And it was just that thought process. And I kept on working on it, saving funds. And in 2018, just boom, open the gym.
Boom, and there it is. I mean, I've obviously know the current location. Is that the sole location that you've had in Edmonton?
The sole location, yeah.
Oh.
Um, yeah, as most kind of sole proprietors, they usually work out of, recreation centers and stuff like that to kind of get a start of clientele, and then build from there. So yeah, just basically had a clientele, open it up with my own funds, and off to the races.
Pun intended or no pun intended there?
Oh yeah.
Just showing some of the I don't I'm still getting used to this graphic software, so trying to throw a few pictures up of what's going on. Um, yeah, obviously it's for people who've never been, it's an awesome facility. Show my COVID picture of Dana,
There you go.
my sub trainer of the day, but I like the slogan in the back about be bold, be better. So you basically just want everyone to be you, hey?
Well, not necessarily. It's of course it's a little bit, the word bold, I think, is just being you, empowering yourself to be the best that you can be, kind of thing. So it's just kind of ironic that my last name is Bold, and kind of flew with it. So it's a good marketing name for sure.
It fits because I mean, I only knew you at a bit of a distance until um, you had to fill in with for Tony, my regular trainer Antonio, for whatever reason. I mean, that's one of the beautiful things about the gym is aside from Devin, I think I've trained with everyone there at one point or another because schedules get mixed up and everyone can kind of fit in, but
Mhm.
again, I only really knew you at a distance. And it really, as I was thinking about, some of what we would talk about today, it made me realize like I go and work with a corporate coach. So I've got a person, we go through a bit of a personality typing thing. We kind of get classed into different things, but it when I went through that, I came to this really strange realization of how many different faces I have for myself. Like, and I kind of break it down as, I have the face I see when I'm in the mirror. I have the face that I use when I'm with, my partner. I have a different face with my kids. I have a different face and a different persona when I come to work, and I have a different one when I'm with my friends. And I realize that people have the same thing for themselves, but with you, I really noticed, there's this you have kind of a one style when you're just kind of hanging out in the gym, and it's more like locker room Aaron, where it's a little bit more jokey, a little bit more, ball busty, very light. And then I didn't know what to expect when we started working together, but all of a sudden, trainer Aaron is like very upbeat, very focused on what we're doing, and very encouraging. And I don't know if if you're aware of those things, I mean, you've got to have those multiple faces within the gym and within your within the professional sporting world. How do you like? Are you aware of those things?
You know what? That's a very interesting kind of way to look at it, and I've never really thought of it that way. But now that you stated it that way, is yeah, I think I have. I don't know if I have multiple personalities, but it's just like you said, the banter of the gym. Sometimes, if people are in there and we know each other, we're gonna chat the way that we chat kind of in the locker room that you said. And then, when it comes to training, I take it very, very serious, right? You're there for a reason, and I'm holding you accountable for that reason to get a certain training effect. And if you're goofing off, I'm going to tell you right now. If we're resting and we kind of get into that locker room kind of talk again, boom, as soon as that time goes up, it's time to get to work again. So I think I've always kind of had that mentality just based off of the work ethic, and it does transfer over into lacrosse. Now, believe it or not, even though you may think I'm pretty energetic and everything like that, when it comes to lacrosse, I'm stone cold. Basically, I have no emotion on my face. I just yep. Like I'll say one worded, sentences basically, and I'm just go out there and play. And that's maybe from a selfish standpoint where I'm just focusing on myself to where I can help the team.
So what when you say that kind of, one word kind of more poker face, what are you trying to hide?
I'm not necessarily trying to hide anything. What it is and you probably know this, going from, from the racing world and stuff like that, where everybody, say there's a problem and everybody wants to say something to find the solution. I don't like people that talk and do the same thing and don't let their actions speak for themselves. That's
Fair
basically
enough.
where it stems from. It's, if you're going to keep on talking fluff, I'm going to be the first one that goes, "Zzz, I know what to do. Let's get it done." So that's kind of where it kind of comes from. And, going into Vancouver and stuff like that, which I know we're going to get into, that's what I've been trying to basically do all this time and through my career.
Well, fortunately, we don't get that Aaron at the gym, so or on the golf course. That's a fifth
Yeah.
Goldie that we get to experience from time to time. What I mean, I'm going to ask the question that's got such an obvious answer, but I think it's important to kind of go through the process. What has been the biggest challenge that you faced since opening the gym?
Well, honestly, I think as any kind of owner of business, you want to be profitable and kind of move forward. My mentality when I was opening the gym is I want it to be basically like a team, right? I want it to be where I'm the captain, I have basically a bunch of assistant coaches or even players, and I want everybody to have a say and buy in that way. Now, you know, COVID has been absolutely brutal, but we have loyal clients like yourself and others that keep on coming back based off the quality of training and the services that we provide. So, I don't know what the right answer you're looking for is, but
I'm going to, I'm just getting ready to find one of the training videos, and unfortunately, I only have very I just have a list view, so I can't quite see quite what I want. I want to try and find more of a thumbnail so I can make sure that I load the right the right video here. But I mean, obviously, it was crazy challenging, and um, let's see if this will actually play here. This is the parking lot of Bold in the middle of COVID, where we were we were mandated to stay out of the gym for a long time, and at one point we were able to reconvene at the gym, but we weren't allowed to go inside. And I think we still had to be masked. And I mean, you can't see the whole thing of what's going on there, but there were 8 or 10 people training. So there was like small groups. I usually do one-on-ones. I mean, kudos to you guys for actually having the wherewithal to not only load all the stuff outside, but to think like, hey, man, you guys hate pushing the sled on the AstroTurf. Wait till you have to push it on the grass.
Yeah, for sure. A little bit more friction there. But I think my team at Bold Athletics, the one word, resiliency, right? Being, and they've been in the industry for a long time. So, if we had a whole lot of new trainers, with all due respect, I don't think that resiliency would be there, right? So, some of us have young families, some of us have significant others and bills to pay. And there's only one way to go, and that's forward, right? So, we work together, and we try our best to, try not to ruffle each other's feathers too much if we
Except
have
when you're trying to
to.
ruffle each other's feathers.
Exactly, right? And then just move forward together, right? And grow. And I think that's the biggest thing is, the respect that we have for each other, the resiliency, and the vision, I guess, in the day's end, right? For both athletics.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really strange time, obviously, because we had to go, weeks without any training. And for, I mean, listen, I'm not exactly a physical specimen, but trying to stay prepared to do what I do in a race car, you have to keep training, and you have to, keep training all year long, whether you want to or not. You stop training and your performance is going to suffer. So, yes, I was fortunate. I had a home gym and I could kind of still do workouts, but they weren't as focused and they weren't as targeted. So, yeah, it was like having a picnic kind of. It was the equivalent of like, hey, let's take this outside. And sorry, Marianne, I'm not trying to steal your trademark, but it was a really, really, really unique time. I'll just say that much.
For sure. Yeah.
And I'm glad it's behind us.
Yes, me too.
um, how do you split your time between business owner and trainer? Because obviously you're quite active in the gym, but and you have some good management help there. But how do you designate, or how would you say you split your time?
It's hard, and it really depends on, the day and everything like that. But the majority is, training clients, the first half of the day, get my workout in, hopefully. And then, other marketing, working on the business after the fact, right? And a lot of people sometimes don't see that. But I know Antonio and a few other trainers know that sometimes I'll be working up until 8 p.m. or 10 p.m. When I start at 6, just like any other business owner, right? When you can't call upon anybody else to do, the nitty gritty work, guess what you're going to do? The nitty gritty work to get it done, right? So, and I think I have to kind of say the only reason why I haven't given up is just the mindset of the athlete, right? And also my upbringing of my mother raising 3 boys by herself. So the work ethic, I think, kind of trickled down my way, and kind of just push forward that way. But it's just like any other business owner. You wear multiple hats, just like and you got to juggle 4 sometimes at the same time. And you learn by it. The last 5 years have been a whirlwind of learning, especially through the pandemic there. And you still learn to this day, right? I think that's the one thing. And I was actually listening to a video about somebody who was got influenced by Kobe Bryant, and it was all about being a kid. And the moral of the story was, be a kid, because kids ask questions to get the answers. So just like in my athletic performance, behind great goaltenders is just asking questions, asking my team for questions. What do we do for this? What do we do for that? Don't be ashamed, that you're going to be wrong, because failure is with growth, right? You can only grow if you fail. So,
Yeah, I have two schools of thought on questions. So, school of thought number one is the surest way to get a no is to not ask. You
mhm,
don't ask, it's a guaranteed no.
mhm.
The second school of thought is you can ask me the same question twice. If you have to ask me a third time, you better start writing it down, because I don't like to, have that repetitive nature of those kinds of things. So it's kind of a mixed bag for sure.
No, for sure. Yeah. It's no, I totally agree with that. Fun fact, I'll even tell you this. This was actually quite funny and maybe embarrassing. But when I was growing up, I was, believe it or not, a little bit of a late bloomer. And I asked my mother for a dating book. And the one line in that dating book, believe it or not, that stuck out with me, and I use it for business and just like asking questions, is if you don't ask a question, there's a 0% chance. If you ask a question, there's 50-50. I'll take those odds any day.
I guess it depends what the question is, but yeah,
I
if
guess
it's
so,
a
yeah.
yes or no question, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, how much time while you're in the gym do you spend looking at your other trainers? Because obviously the guys are essentially, I don't know if you consider them employees, contractors, or whatever, but there's also likely, I mean, you have a philosophy on how you want things to happen. So how much of that time that we're sitting there making gravy are you watching to make sure that everything's done properly?
I watch, the majority of the time. Of course, I can't just stop and kind of intervene. So I wait for the right time, just like any, I think, business owner or captain should do. Take notes, and we have meetings and, discuss. My biggest thing is professionalism, right? I know that sometimes there is some locker talk that kind of gets out of way sometimes, but we have to kind of reel that back in and be professionals in the day's end. Attire is huge for me. If you're a contractor, employer, whatever, we're on the same team. We wear the same gear and we have the same vision, right? So that's one of the biggest things. Even though we have structure through programming and everything like that, um, with me, I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt until there's doubt, and then we'll have that conversation, right? So I want them to express how they train and their training styles with their clients, as long as they give them results, right? That's why we're, investing in our health, is to get results, of course, and people are spending, quite a bit of money for this investment in their health and their lifestyle. And as long as in the day's end we get that for our clients and our, family, I guess, or community, I think that's, the end result that we all want. So, it's here and there, and I don't like to micromanage. It's more, hey, be professional, clean up after yourself sometimes, and go from there.
Yeah, I need to have that conversation with some of the members from time to time because, like, guys, this is a locker room. It's not a toilet. Like, come on.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
So how do you actually convey that message? Do you have one-on-ones? Do you have an employee handbook? Do you do staff meetings?
Yeah, so we have like our SOPs, which is a live document, right? So what we'll do is we have anything that comes in new, we'll have a team meeting once a month. We'll go over new and improved SOPs, and then from there some individual performance or KPI meetings, to where if people need clients or anything like that, we try our best to keep that in consideration when we're doing marketing consultations, which we're on a big kind of run right now with, right, just to get everybody a bit more busier. And that's just one other client, or one other trainer, sorry. And we're looking almost to expand again, which is awesome to hear, right? So
Expand as in location or just additional training capacity within the gym or
additional training capacity, right? So of course we're trying to build out our small group training, which is, I think, a little bit better than big box gyms, with all due respect, where you have one trainer yelling at 30 people and never checking form. But yeah, besides that, yeah, we're looking to expand on our training staff, but ultimately, of course, growth, right? So I have another vision for another gym. So hopefully, maybe in the next 3 to 5 years, we can grow into a bigger space, have maybe a little bit more public access, but still private personal training area as well.
well, I need to maintain the private side of things because I can't release this to the general public. So that's one thing we have to maintain for sure. If too many people see me, they'll feel way too good about themselves and they won't need to train. Um, so now I got to be candid. My exposure to lacrosse is very limited. I've seen highlights. I've actually done a fair bit of research. When I start looking at some statistics, because I come, and I'll be equally candid, I'm not even a hockey fan. I don't really watch hockey anymore, but that was the frame of reference I had because they're obviously very similar in nature. Seeing where did it go here? You have something, you have one of the best all-time goals against average, and it's something like 11. Like that was a shocking number to read where an NHL goalie would be, 2.75, 3.05 goals against, kind of thing. The offense is crazy in lacrosse.
Yeah. So the big thing, I think the biggest difference, of course, is ice and artificial turf, right? So for one, we're always running. We can't glide for one, even though hockey is quite fast. We're technically the fastest sport on 2 feet. They claim so. But besides that, it's more to do with the release point of a lacrosse ball, where everything's coming from the ice, right? And the angles are a little bit different. You can come out and challenge the shooter a little bit more through ice hockey. They have bigger nets, of course. Our nets are 4.9 4 feet 9 inches wide and 4 feet tall. Yes, we look like big marshmallows, but the reason why is it's a little bit easier to actually score in lacrosse, right? Because
Yeah.
that lacrosse shot can come from any angle, behind the
Yeah.
back, between the legs, low to high, high to low, bounce shot, behind the back, right?
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing that a lot of people misinterpret when it comes to hockey and lacrosse. Oh, yeah, it's easy, right? And it's just like, hey, throw on my gear, right? I'll get somebody who's in junior even to shoot on you. We'll see how you do,
Yeah.
right? Like, oh,
It's
you've been doing
funny.
this for so long, right? It's like, well, yeah, it's a skill, but for you to say that is a little bit naive, I think.
It's funny that the same arguments are the same kinds of things that we hear in racing, though.
Mhm.
That the car does all the work. It doesn't look that hard. You should just like, man, it is when the really, really good people in a sport do it well, it looks so easy. And it like, I watched the highlights from your last game. So I saw goals scored by bouncing it off like around like a screenshot that comes around a guy, bounces, and then comes in. One goal that they got past you was what you had talked about off the backboard, kind of came around the net. Somebody just happened to be there, was able to stuff it in, the top left side. Like
Yeah.
those are like, I mean, you can have the greatest reactions in the world, but from 6 feet out, when you've got to keep your focus essentially in front of you, that like it was crazy to me how high the scoring was.
Yeah, and I think that's the one big thing about hockey to lacrosse. There's a little bit more instances where it's just luck of the draw off the boards and like it's a quick shot, right? And you don't have time to react. I think there's more of that in lacrosse compared to hockey. And I think that's possibly why there's more goals as well, right? Where, you're not always going to have a nice shot from 30 feet out. You can see the ball perfectly and you can track it. That's almost never in lacrosse.
Yeah, I was surprised at how many goals, like again, looking at highlights packages, were scored from what we would say in hockey is the top of the circle, and like just no defense, no screenshot, and players are still able to score. Like my father-in-law taught me, and I don't think it really applies to lacrosse, but in hockey, you can never score on a goalie that's in position, because they can cover so much of the net. The way that you guys have to play, you stand up almost all the time. In hockey, obviously now everything's butterfly. And when these guys are on their knees, they're still covering the majority of the net.
For sure.
Like it was crazy to me, like how many different angles it's possible to score. Well, and I mean, you're a big effing dude. Like, I don't know if like, yes, when they see you in your goalie pads, yeah, you look really puffed up. I mean, I see you in the gym, you're a big bloody dude, and still there's a lot of net to try and cover.
Yeah, it's really crazy. And the thing is I think the extension of the stick, right? So if you're here, we can extend the stick another 3 feet out, and that becomes, the eye of the shooter, right? A really good shooter. So, I think that's the biggest thing is just with hockey, you can't like for you to extend and then do this, like the goalie's already like can see it from a mile away,
Yeah.
right? Where that stick can move so fast when you're faking or coming across your body to shoot, either short side or far side. And I think just the release point is faster, not necessarily the shot itself. Is this where it's released from and the transition of being here, faking, and then shooting like that right away.
Well, and you
Whereas in
can't see
hockey,
the ball coming out of the what do you call it? A stick?
the stick, yeah, the head of the
Yeah,
stick,
you
yep,
can't see it until it's actually out because it's sitting in a pocket. So you
yeah.
can't even like you can maybe get an idea. Now, does the ball curve?
No. So
So
the thing is,
if
though,
you
is you can
spun it,
possibly put a little English on it. Yeah, the spin of the ball, so you can
yeah.
put a little English on it, but it's not going to be anything crazy, crazy.
Okay.
But I've seen some crazy shots that are like, how did that go in? And some of the best lacrosse shooters in the world just do it. It's just they just do it. It's crazy. I don't know.
So, I mean, from a goalie standpoint, if I was going to take a position in hockey, I would always rather be a goalie than a skater, just because I wasn't a really strong skater. But I'm super curious, what do you wear for shoes? Because I'm thinking about wanting to slide side to side. You want to kind of be able to slide. You don't want to have like really sticky footwear because if you catch your foot, you can twist your ankle.
True. But now I understand with the sliding, but I think that's more kind of to do with like skates where you kind of push off from your skate, you're on a pad and then you get back up and you kind of etch your other skate to kind of hold your position. I wear just basketball shoes, New Balance basketball shoes. Believe it or not, nothing anything special. Even though sometimes we get hit in the toes and we'll have a nice little bloody toe or whatever. But yeah, I like having the grip because myself, I'm a bigger goalie, yes, but I also like to be. I'm a very positional goaltender, so people always say that I'm really good with my angles, and that's what I try and do is teach the young adolescent kind of goalies out there is it's all about angles, footwork, position, because 80% of the time if you are in that angle, you're going to have a better chance to stop, and if you can't react to it compared to having not so good angles, and you lower that chance dramatically just by footwork and knowing where you are in your nets. So
Yeah, which goes back to my father-in-law's concept that if you're in position, that's,
exactly.
really what he's saying is if you're in position, that's 90% of the battle.
You got it. And I think honestly with hockey, I think it's a little bit more relevant that way, just because maybe from the position of when it's coming at you. Again, goaltending in lacrosse, it's not only how big you are, but it's how far you are from the net as well. Because if you're playing maybe a half foot out and they're right on top of your crease, they can reach around you compared to being a half step back, cutting off the angle and beating them to the post if they're shooting there, and then
Yeah.
maybe over the shoulder or between. Like it's just there's again, it's a craft that I've been doing for the last 18 years, and you keep on saying, oh, if I just do this subtle thing here, I'm going to get the advantage on this player or that player. So the game within the game is something that I really love and I admire, because if I can shut down a good offensive player, I beat him that game. And then, the next game he might study me a little bit more and set me up, maybe far side, and then he comes back short side, even though I know he likes short side. All these little games within the games, that's what I really enjoy about this sport.
And that's another thing that goes to the gym and physical training is the preparation, is getting to I've watched a lot of the video. That I shouldn't say a lot, there's not that many videos of you out there, from a lacrosse standpoint. I tried to pour through every single one of them, and it was after you were first signed by Vancouver originally.
Mhm,
Like, okay, so what's your day going to be like? Well, we're probably going to go have lunch and then we're going to spend time on tapes, was what you said.
mhm.
And almost every comment that I've heard you make with regard to lacrosse from a video standpoint, or whether it's your own personal blogs because you like to blog when you travel, every single comment that I remember hearing has to do with the camaraderie of being on a team. Looking forward to playing with my brothers, looking forward to getting with the team, looking forward to that environment. So, that always fascinates me.
Yeah, well, honestly, I've been on many teams and I've had, successful teams. We've had teams that are really skilled and, kind of fell short. When it comes back to it, it's all camaraderie, it's believing in each other, trust. Those are huge things. I would rather have a team that's not as skilled, or even talent wise, have natural talent, but they're willing to work on their skill and they trust in each other and
Yeah.
they're willing to do in the work because hard work will always outwork skill or talent. I don't care who you are. And believe me, I've seen it many, many times over the years, and that's what we're kind of getting into right now. We are still skilled, but we just don't necessarily have the depth. But honestly, this feeling that I have about the team in Vancouver, it's a great feeling. I haven't felt this feeling in a long time, and it's kind of rekindling my love for not only the sport and this group.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, let's go over a little bit of your history here. So, this isn't in chronological order, but you've played with Portland, San Jose, Rochester, Edmonton, which then became the Saskatchewan Rush,
Mhm.
New England, Vancouver twice, and Halifax.
Correct.
That's a pretty big spread.
Yeah. Well, it is, but over 18 years, I think what 7 of those were with Edmonton, right? So
Yeah,
Edmonton slash Saskatchewan. So the one thing, like again, it's a little interesting because as a goalie or any player in this league, when you first start, you want to just play, right? You want to get into the lineup and so on and so forth. So, my first year in Portland, I was a third goalie. I moved down there. I literally trained 7 days a week. I practiced, ate like a racehorse, and I came back, believe it or not, being almost the size that I am at the age of 20. I was a big boy.
yeah,
So I was just like, yeah, this is awesome. In the offseason, I actually in the draft, they can only protect a certain amount of players. And then what happens, you're free for all. So that's where San Jose actually picked me up in that in the entry draft, I believe it was. Yeah. Or yeah, as a non-free agent or something like that. They got me. I was there for I think 3 years, trying to get my feet wet. I was a backup for a little bit, and unfortunately, sometimes, it's timing. So I didn't really get my chance until I was roughly around 5, 6 years to be a starter, right?
yeah.
So as a goalie, you need to develop, right? You need to, and the biggest thing, the longest thing that takes is the mindset,
Yeah.
right? Is being able to bounce back from bad goals, to lead the team without saying anything, to, making those, big saves and key moments to, win that game when it's a 1 goal game, right? Like those are huge things that you have to learn from the trenches. You have to play and you have to play through that and you have to learn from those experiences. And time is the only thing that will allow you to do that and the opportunities that you get.
Yeah, I mean, 18 years, two-time champion, 2016 Cup MVP, um, eighth all time in minutes played, ninth all time in saves, sixth all time in goalie wins, sixth all time in the postseason for minutes played, and tied for third most postseason. Hold on a second. Tied for saves, third most postseason. That's a pretty damn good career.
I didn't even know of all of those, to be honest, but
Well,
cool.
you stick with me. I'll teach you all kinds of things that I
Yeah,
can research here
perfect.
in a few minutes.
Yeah, honestly, you know what? That's great. I think the big ones are the championships, right? Like, because that's the team effort. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I don't care about personal accolades, rings, and stuff like that. I was saying to another person that I did an interview actually even last week is when myself and a teammate, Ryan Dilks, actually won. We won the championship cup with Edmonton during the winter. Then we won the Canadian championships with the Victoria Shamrocks. Then we won the world championships with Canada all in 1 year. I think myself and him and maybe a few other handfuls have ever done that, and it's a privilege. But I still don't have my Team Canada ring. I just got my Man Cup ring for the national Canadian championships, but that was gifted to me as a present for Christmas.
Wow.
So, like they're awesome. And in the day's end, of course, am I going to go out and get them again or get the ones that I don't have? Sure, because it's, memorabilia of my career and stuff like that. But I think if you get too fixated on all that kind of stuff, you get very comfortable, and as we get comfortable, there's no growth. So, sometimes I'm hard on myself where, I'm never satisfied. But sometimes I've been taught by, my late wife to say, hey, you know what, like, calm down, just smell the roses a little bit and then get back into it. So, I've been a little bit better that way, but I still have that fire and hunger. It's just me being me of, just keep on pushing forward and keep on helping others along the way. And if you can win a championship, that'd be great. My vision right now is uh over 40 years old and I'm hoisting another championship cup.
That's a hell of a goal.
Yeah.
Um, just saw this come in from our friend Positive Mike. This isn't entirely true anymore. When I was a kid, lacrosse was Canada's national game. I don't even know if you know this. 1994, lacrosse was declared Canada's national summer game, with hockey being declared the national winter game. Does it really matter? I don't think so. But just an interesting tidbit that I dug up during my research. Now, before we can move into Michelle if you want, but the question I wanted to ask before we really tiptoe out of lacrosse: what's more difficult, bearing the pressure of being a starter with the weight of the team every night, or being a backup? Because now you've had both roles where you don't know necessarily when you're going to go in. You still have to train, you still have to be ready, and you often have to come in cold. What's the tougher role?
That's hard. I would say, just because I prefer it more, I would say starter, right? Just because I don't like to think myself as a number two. But when you have the opportunity to be number two, it is, I think, a little bit easier. Now, the one thing that I would have to say is when you are a backup is not being too loose. So you're still there to support your team. You're there to support the starting goaltender or your partner, basically, right? And you need to kind of be ready, because on the bench, when a goal goes in, the coach will be like, "Hey, get ready," and then all of a sudden you have to go and then get into that
Yep.
zone very, very quickly. So even with that, that takes some time to getting used to basically, hey, yeah, here you go, right? Fight or flight kind of, feelings kind of going through your body, and then boom, you're right in it. Now, as a starter goaltender, it's there is pressure, and stuff like that, but people say, pressure makes diamonds and all that kind of stuff or whatever. But I really think that with that type of pressure, I think it's sometimes just self-given to an extent. I think everybody's in the same situation where, you've been doing this for a whole lot of time. I think it might pressure kind of stems from fear. And if you have fear, you're not going to perform. So the biggest thing that I do, of course, is watch game film repeatedly. The last 2 weeks, I've probably watched about 10 hours or more of game film on Vegas. And it's just picking up small little things. I've played with or against some of these players in Vegas, knowing their tendencies, stuff like that. And, once you basically play, it's just go time. You let that all go and you trust in your skills, and that's it. And you make your process very simple to adhere to. And that's when you're going to have success.
And that was an interesting little video that I saw. Someone was asking you about your tendency, and I can't say because highlights don't show this, and I still haven't been to a game. Maybe one day I'll know someone who can get me a ticket, but I could also probably not be such a tightwad and just buy a ticket. But anyway, you have a tendency to reenact the play when you get scored on. That you tend to make the move that you should have made to make the save. Is that true?
Yeah. So, and that stems from working with, sports psychologists and everything like that as well. And every goalie is going to have their own reset plan, right? And that's what makes a good goalie as well, is if you can stop runs. Because in the game of lacrosse, if you've ever seen a score sheet, right, you might see 3, 4, 5 goals, 6 goals, 7 goals, even 10 goals in a row. Sometimes it's crazy. So stopping those runs is absolutely crucial as a starting goaltender. So what I technically do is I have some focus words, so I'll replay that that play, and internal voicing, just saying, okay, do this or whatever, or very simple, just one word. I'll go on my crouch. I'll say black. I'll breathe, maybe some box breathing, 3 in, hold for 3, exhale, just let it go. And then, I'll have some focus words that kind of just remold my thought process. And then I have a hype word that gets me kind of up to where I visualize where I played some of my best lacrosse. And that's my anchoring or refocus word to get me back into the groove. And that's all within 30 seconds.
So you're just like a sleeper agent. We just have you're
Got
like
it.
program. We have like code
Good
words,
to
and all of a
go.
sudden you snap into action.
You got it. You got it.
Love it. I think you can see these pictures as I'm putting up. Can you tell me what's going on here?
Yeah, so this kind of stems a little bit from my pregame kind of rituals. So for myself, I do what's called a progressive relaxation. Then I'll visualize the arena, shooters, stuff like that as well, even like hours before the game. Hours before the game. So I've already gone through that process, and I'm a little bit more confident in what's going to be happening to me. So if I write down I'm going to have 10 breakaways, well, hey, if 8 breakaways come my way, well, okay, there's 2 less, but I'm going to do my best to stop those breakaways. Now, in the picture there where I'm juggling up against the wall, that's just a little bit of hand-eye coordination drills that I do, and I have done for years and years and years. So I'll play music, and I'll go in the hallway where it's just myself. And then basically that's in between first and second warm up. So my first warm up, I'll do my on floor warm up. I'll maybe do a little bit of visualization. Maybe sometimes I don't like to do it right at the arena. Do the first warm up with the team, and then I'll do the hand eye coordination. Go back out for the second. Then I'll listen to a motivational video that I usually listen to, and then game time.
And you'll do that every night, whether you know you're starting or not?
Yep. So the thing
Uh,
is repetition, right? So again, getting into that repetition, that mindset, and that's the thing, because I feel if I don't do that, I've let my team down, and I expect that from my teammates as well, right? To not be selfish and think about the team first. So if you're not putting in the effort day in, day out like everybody else is, then you are the weakest link, and you need to improve to help the team.
Yeah, well, like you said, you like to lead by example. So, I can I can attest to the effort that goes into those workouts, because I mean, what you do on your own is embarrassing that compared to what I'm doing. But
Oh, everyone's at their own level, right? And own journey.
well, I don't get awards at my level, so but that's fine. I know where I'm at. What is something you want, like a misconception about lacrosse, or something that happens in lacrosse that people wouldn't know that you'd want to share?
Wow. Hmm. I don't know. I don't think there's too many misconceptions. I think honestly the biggest one is goaltending is easy. All you have to do is stop the ball, right? You have to be actually quite athletic. You have to be patient. You have to be very observant. And yeah, I think there's more to goaltending as a skill as people really understand.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
and you
that's
guys are flying on private planes, and
exactly all the time.
you know
Yeah.
it's
Well,
all 4 seasons, and
so
like
there's
that.
another one too. Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
make a whole lot. We do play for the love of the game. We do get funds, but you know, in a there was the one when we were in Saskatchewan actually, 2 weeks ago. Half the team's flights got canceled. Majority of the Vancouver team gone in at 1 a.m. We had a player from Vancouver, or sorry, a coach from Vancouver, got in at 12, couldn't get out of Calgary. Same with another gentleman flying in from Montreal. So in the morning, they went from Calgary, drove to Saskatoon for our first warm up, and then okay, we're here.
Yeah.
That's basically the circus behind sometimes professional sports where things happen, you have to roll with it and you have to perform. That's basically, what we're there to do.
Yeah, the hall that you go through, I mean, it's got to be a lot more manageable playing in Vancouver. I think people probably assume that you, being a Vancouver Warrior, live in Vancouver, but you don't. You're still in Edmonton as you were last year in Halifax. And watching, I travel a lot, but watching your travel schedule where, okay, it's Thursday, I'm taking the red eye to Toronto. I'll arrive at 6 a.m. and I know that flight quite well. I've got a 3 hour layover before connecting and then basically going straight to the rink after really not sleeping, not being comfortable. Like, it's a haul. And I want more people to know what kind of, forget about, I shouldn't say forget about it, but the training that you put in, you would do that no matter where you're at. But the trend, the travel is brutal.
Yeah, it can definitely be brutal. And just like you said, right? Sometimes it's red eyes if you're having a back to back. Sometimes you maybe have 3 hours of sleep, if that. And the 3 hours that you did get are, on a charter bus, and guys are farting and, this or that. And it's not quality sleep. But you have to kind of keep on pushing through and do your best, right, to perform, because in the day's end, the other team doesn't care if they're, all waiting for you and they're relaxed and everything like that. It's you got to put your best foot forward and fight.
Yeah. Now I've kept you as long as we've agreed to here, and I know you got to get
Okay.
running here. Is there anything else you want to throw out there?
No, I think, well, I guess for, if there's any kind of lacrosse fans out there and everything like that, I just want to say thank you very much for all your support over the years. And I appreciate, not only the fan of lacrosse, but a fan of myself. And if there's any young goaltenders out there as well, or lacrosse, or even athletes in general, you have a dream, keep on going for it, no matter what, just push for it. There's going to be haters no matter what. I even have haters, even this long and stuff like that. People that will doubt you, say that you won't be able to, do what you want to do. Prove them wrong. Have confidence like you have in yourself, and just keep on pushing forward.
How do people find you?
You can, I guess, find me on Instagram at Boldy77. You can, if you want some fitness training tips, it's boldathletics.com.
Highly recommended. Obviously, been a client for a number of years, and if you're in the Edmonton area, there is a training program for you. One of the best things is the gym's ability to adapt to what you need. Not, there's no agenda, there's no set program. I mean, that was one of the most amazing things, was that what you guys had never dealt with anyone in racing before, so that was all brand new, and we had to go through and kind of describe what that was. But my level of racing and somebody else's level of racing is very different. So you get a bit of an injury, we train around the injury. Let's try this move. No, that's not going to work. Okay, we'll try another one. Everyone within the place is just indescribably awesome at that stuff. So cannot recommend Bold Athletics and you guys enough.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Okay, well, good luck. Is it this weekend that you guys play?
Yeah, fly out tomorrow to Vegas, get a little bit of sunshine, get a good win, and come back to the frozen tundra.
Boy, enjoy the secondhand marijuana down there. I couldn't believe. I mean, I was there last weekend. I went to one NASCAR race and I walked, essentially from Fremont Street down the entire strip. It was 12 and a half kilometers, which I count as a workout. I thought I was breaking a law by not smoking weed as I was walking down the street. I've never seen it like that. I mean, it was absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, everyone seemed
Don't
to be
wear a
in a
mask.
good mood. So
Wear a
yeah,
mask.
maybe I need to mask. Okay, man. Well, thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you at the gym, and good luck.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Take care.
Take care. Man, that guy's got a great story. I just love hearing the behind the scenes of anything, whether it's Lacrosse, whether it's racing, whether it's business, it doesn't matter. Can't thank Aaron enough. I think we're going to have him back on because there's so much more to get into, from personal standpoint, and there's more business, and obviously there's going to be so much more, sporting news. Whether it's Aaron's future lacrosse playing, whether it's his training academy, some of his up and coming. Players that they're currently being trained right now. Just really, really looking forward to hopefully I can get him back on and I didn't scare him off too badly. But that's basically it. Thanks again for watching. Send the questions in. You can find me at Talkin Torque. You can email me, hey there at talkintorque.ca, and we'll be back again next Thursday.